I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsor. If you have a laser device for training and you want to take it to the next level, or if you're looking to get into using a laser device for training, check out the products at laserapp.com, LASRAPP.com. You can use code CSP2021 for 15% off the items you've selected. And thanks for checking them out. Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast, your premier podcast for the casual shooter. This week you have Leo and me, Dave.
Hola, I'm Leo. He's Dave.
Yep, exactly.
Just for clarification.
Just, we look so much alike.
Basically twins.
Yeah. We have a return guest this week. He's all over single stack. He's a lover of single stack, and he's all over Instagram and YouTube with videos. Really good videos. You should check it out at Tim Herron Shooting. Welcome back, Tim.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well,
hello, Tim.
Thank you for being on. So how have you been?
I've been good. Been busy, traveling all over the country, teaching classes to anybody that'll have me. So, like I said, I just got back from like a 3-week stint where I've had 4 classes or 5 classes back to back that had me bouncing literally from one coast to the other coast and then back again and then back a third time. So it's been a fun year so far.
So you're racking up those frequent flyer miles.
Most definitely.
Eventually you'll get a free flight to who knows where, exotic somewhere.
Guam.
Now you can. It's got to be better to fly without a mask.
Oh man, it's been amazing. So I was amidst travel. Actually, I was in the Outer Banks of North Carolina when they finally lifted. So my flight there, they had not lifted the ban yet, or the mask mandate. It was supposed to be lifted on April 18th, and so I had to fly all the way out to North Carolina with the mask on. And then when I got there, I'd read that the judge in Florida, federal judge in Florida, had said it was unconstitutional and got the mask mandate lifted completely. So on the way home, it's like, before I even got to the airport, while I was in the rental car, I was like, all the masks I possibly had, and I just stuffed them in the cup holder. And then when I turned in the rental car, I tossed them in the trash. I was like, man, I'm all in. At this point, I walked right in the airport like I owned it, man. It was awesome. So. It's great to be back to normal.
Tim Herron International Airport. We welcome all flyers.
Sometimes I feel like I should own stock in an airport or at an airline.
Yeah, more than likely. Where do you
paying yourself
fly out of when you're home?
When I'm home, I fly. My nearest airport to me is Albuquerque, the Albuquerque Sunport. So. Albuquerque International Airport's kind of a small airport. I primarily fly Southwest Airlines, I try to. I'm the biggest advocate for Southwest. They've been great to me. They're awesome, for gun owners and 2A supporters, things like that as well. They're pretty easy to travel with. And they go just about everywhere I need to go. Unfortunately, to get to the Outer Banks last week, I had to fly American Airlines because they were the only ones that were able to to get me a schedule that I could, an itinerary that I could fly through, to get me to Norfolk, Virginia and back. So, but even they were pretty good this time. So,
wow, you were just around the corner from me, about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodness. Yeah, they initially said Biden was going to appeal that ruling, but I guess Fauci came out today and said we are through the pandemic. So that should end all issues with masks.
Let's hope.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly.
I think Biden just forgot.
Yeah.
They didn't put it on his calendar, and he was like, I don't know what I was doing today.
It'd been 10 minutes.
I'm going to have waffles. Yeah, I want pancakes. Give me some flapjacks.
With my invisible friend that I shake hands with.
That's right.
Oh, Lord. That's hilarious. All right, so Tim, I was able to jump on your Instagram live the other night just for a few minutes.
Hmm.
So I'm going to get into that a little bit more later. But I know I went back and I was trying to watch it today, but there was a lot going on. But I noticed that you seem to smoke cigars all the time.
I do.
What is your favorite brand?
Oh man, that's a good one. So I'd say I've got two like favorite brands. Like my go-tos are Oliva cigars. I'm a big fan of both the Serie V Milano Maduros, and I really like the Serie G line of cigars from Oliva. And I've been uh, a big kind of purveyor of Padron cigars as well. So kind of my go-to like day-to-day stick is the Padron 3000 Maduros. I think those are God, you can't beat that for like a $9 to $11 cigar. And of course, then just for and for the to me kind of the pinnacle is like the 1926 anniversaries or the 64s. I like Padron cigars a lot though, and I like Oliva both. So those are
Okay.
my two favorites.
Just saying, Nicaraguan cigars is fine.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was about to ask. Where are they from? Now we know.
Little
Yep.
little shout out to my peeps.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there. I might have to
Now
tell my
you-
uncle to listen to this one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where Leo's parents are from.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. I don't just randomly like, a dictatorship in Central America. Just, we're from there. Not me. Just to be very clear, I am an anchor baby. I was born here. My parents came here, plopped us on American soil, and then they were like, and we're staying. They're
I
like,
don't
we
blame 'em
enjoy
one bit."
freedom, so we're gonna stay.
That's right.
So
Oh, that's funny.
just I'm citizen. Just
Side story though. Hopefully Leo doesn't get too upset. He did spend time naked as a teenager outside of a jail in Nicaragua.
fact. That happened. We should that's like for the after when the lights go out.
Yeah.
Like we could talk about, but that happened. It did.
We'll have to have a Casual Shooters After Dark podcast.
Yeah,
episode.
yeah,
Definitely.
That's legit. No cigars
Uh,
involved, but yep.
Now, do you like to drink bourbon when you smoke your cigars?
I do.
Okay, what do you normally drink there?
Oh my gosh.
What
I
don't
probably-
I drink?
I know exactly. I am a lover of just about all things brown water. So, God, I've got so many favorites. I don't really have like a particular. Like, I do have one particular like absolute, positively my favorite, and that's Elmer T. Lee. But Elmer T. Lee is so hard to get. It only comes out generally. It's only released twice a year, and you've really got to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody on the inside to
Lord.
to get a bottle of that. I remember the last time I bought 3 bottles of that about 5 years ago. I could buy it for about $45 to $50 a bottle, and now that same bottle is going for about $400 to $500 on the gray market. So, yeah, it's I've got an unopened bottle right now in my collection, and I will not open it until I can find its replacement first. So I'm kind of all over the board there. There's sometimes I like lower proof, 80 to 85 proof, like really easy sipping bourbons, all the way up to. I'm not a super high proof guy, but I like some 100, 101, 105 proof bourbons as well. I kind of trying to name off a few. I like weeded bourbons a lot. So I love, gosh, I'm trying to think. Weller is probably one of my favorite because that's a weeded bourbon. There's a couple of kind of like smaller distillery like kind of home distilled weeded bourbons out of Lexington, Kentucky that I like real well too. But I'm kind of all over the board. It just kind of depends on that, that evening's taste. Like, do I want something a little really oaky and spicy? Do I want something, a little more sweet with, like some vanilla or cherry hints to it? It just kind of depends. And then a lot of times it kind of depends on like what cigar I want to smoke that night too, as to what pairs well with it. So, but I'm not afraid to try or drink anything. And I'm very fortunate with a lot of my students. Like not very often, but occasionally I get students that'll gift me a bottle of bourbon to take home with me, after class like that. So that's
in lieu of payment, we accept bourbon.
A $500 bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be like good bourbon.
So, being from New Mexico, Tim, or at least now, you didn't start there originally, but being there now, how spicy do you like?
Oh man, I'm a green chili fan all the way. So look at that.
Look at the name.
Mango habanero. I've never tried that before, but that's got me intrigued, Dave.
They are makers of moonshine, and that's where I found out about them.
Right.
My wife and I went to Gatlinburg and we did the moonshine tasting. When I went to Nationals in October, I drove back through Gatlinburg because they also have a they have a whiskey that's I can't even think of the name of it right now, but it was amazing. So I actually swung through Gatlinburg on my way back from Talladega just to go to Old Smoky to pick up some more stuff. I ran into that, and this is amazing. It's only a 70 proof, so it's not crazy.
Very smooth.
But it's got a heck of a kick from the habanero.
That's awesome.
It's a sweet, hot. It is amazing how well they were able to blend the flavors. Old Smoky's not a sponsor, by the way. But if they want to be.
I mean, listen, we don't discriminate. I shouldn't say we don't discriminate. I mean, if a Democrat wanted to sponsor us, we'd be like, maybe.
See, I'm kind of the same way. Like when I travel around, like I always look for kind of local distilleries or things like that for different types of drinks and things. So when I was in Sarasota, Florida, there's a rum distillery there, and I had to pick up 2 or 3 different bottles of rum to bring home with me. My girlfriend, she loves different gins, so she's a big gin collector. So, and we always try to go like anywhere I'm out, like if there's a gin distillery in the area, I'll always try to make an effort to stop by or at least to pick up like a local gin of someplace I've been to bring back. So, I mean, we've probably got 60, 70 different bottles of gin from all over the country. I've probably got 15 or 20 different bottles of rum from different places and 40 to 50 different bottles of bourbon from places as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said,
so I have two recommendations. And we're going, so one from Flor de Caña. It's like FLOR de Caña, CANA, well, Enya, A. It's a Nicaraguan. I'm pretty sure you can get it here. They have like a 4-year-old, a 7, a 12, and then they have the Centenaria. So like it's like high dollar, but they make good rum. And then I don't know how you guys feel about Lagavulin, but they started making the Botanist.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. Like that is, it is mucho bueno, as they say in Scotland. So yeah, if she hasn't tried it, I would recommend it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm not saying I have one of those every Saturday, but I might.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Is that the Flor de Caña?
Yes. That is the drink of my people. And that is good.
Leo, that is not cheap.
No, I know. Yeah, look at that. Come on, man.
Hold on.
Is that 25 year?
Yes.
There's a 130th anniversary for 99 and a 25-year-old. We'll go this one.
Hey, you know what?
A 25-year-old rum for 150.
I've spent $150 on a hell of a lot worse things.
Yep. Now I will say, like their 7, their 12 is still excellent. It is very good. But yeah, them bad boys. I'm gonna put it this way. So my dad, we used to go there all the time, and my dad picked up a bottle while he was there, and I may or may not, as a younger child, have inadvertently broken it.
Oh no!
I didn't know any better. I knew I had done wrong because his face told the story.
Told you, yeah.
Yeah, and my butt figured it out when the belt met my cheeks. And the worst part is he couldn't get another bottle, and he has since that time not found that like hasn't. He stopped drinking. Not he's not an alcoholic or anything, but like he doesn't drink anymore because he's old and he takes a bunch of medicine. But
that doesn't go well with alcohol.
Yeah, it doesn't go well with his like heart pills that keep him alive. But yeah, it's very Flor de Caña is a very good rum. Yeah, and the Botanist. Those are the two that I would recommend. Awesome. And again, not sponsors, but if they want to be,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or even like the cigar, like Padron. If they want to sponsor, we're not allowed to smoke, and we don't smoke officially, but
Oh, I've been working on Padron for cigars as a cigar sponsor. Like, man, I'd happily wear that logo on my shirt.
Wear their hat, whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, I'll wear a mankini if they need me to. I don't even care.
That's right. I will shoot every stage with a bad boy hanging out of my mouth if that's what it takes.
That's right.
And we do have someone in Area 8 who does it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he looks classy as hell.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. Always has that cigar in his mouth.
I don't think I've ever seen him without one that I can think of.
I don't know that I ever have. I've seen him put it down a few times, but I don't think I've ever not seen him with one in his possession at the time.
Didn't he tell a story about the Steve Anderson class where he had right? And he like Steve Anderson was like, "Are you gonna put that down?" And he was like, "Nope."
Yeah, nope.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and he didn't. I mean, even when I was there when we were doing that one, we're talking about Kevin McPhee, Tim.
Yeah.
I saw him put it down one time when I was at the class. He just set it down for a minute, went and did something, went back, picked it up, kept on going.
That's right.
That's the only time I saw him without one was when he would put it down. So he's a lover of the cigar.
I don't know if you want to take them into the Porta John. You know what I mean? You don't want to ruin the aroma.
Yeah, exactly.
Or ignite the methane.
Well, there's that. I don't know. Safety third.
Now, Tim, I know we were talking. Before we started, you were saying how much travel you have going on from now to the end of the year. I mean, do you even have any openings in any of your classes from now to the end of the year?
I do. Yeah, I do have some classes with some openings in them. Most every class I've had from, like I said, from January up to now has been pretty much a full sold out class, and they're generally sold out 3 to 4 months in advance. I'm working on like kind of promoting some of my classes for like July, August, and September. Just kind of spreading the word on those. So I'll be in Pennsylvania twice this year, both in the Pittsburgh area and then pretty near or kind of near the Philly area. Both of those classes do have some availability in those. Okay. And then one's later in the year. So I've got a development course that's almost fully filled out. And that class isn't until like the first weekend of November at Mead Hall Range out in Oklahoma City. And it's already almost sold out. I've got certain classes that it seems like they fill really, really fast. And then other classes, just especially as like newer venues, places I haven't been before, have started to fill, or starting to, to get some interest in things like that. I've got 3 or 4 classes on the schedule for next year. that I don't even have listed on my website yet, that are already sold out, and they're not even until like next February or next March. So
Wow.
yeah, the Prescott class this weekend. I'm doing my 2-day class on Friday and Saturday. It's fully sold out. And then my May 1st class on Sunday, that's a co-instructed class with AJ Zito, my Practice with Purpose class. I think we've got a maximum of 16 seats available for that class, and we've got 14 filled. So we've got only 2 openings left for that class. The St. Louis class coming up next weekend, it's filled. The Charlestown, Rhode Island class, it's full.
Goodness.
I'm trying to think of what else I've got.
Is AJ Zito related to Chuck Zito?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, AJ Zito's lives in Prescott. He's a master gunsmith, builds some absolutely incredible 1911s, and is also a national level trainer. And he hosts me every year in Prescott. He's my very best friend. So not only does he host me for a class, but we also teach joint classes together. So we'll be bringing our joint 2-day class called Playing for Mastery in July on the West Coast out in LA. And then we'll be teaching it again out at Shadowhawk Defense in West Virginia in October. So.
Okay.
Speaking of which, it was Lynn's birthday. This past week?
Friday? I think you said.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I sent her a birthday text.
I failed to text her and wish her happy birthday, so she's probably going to murder me when she sees
Don't
me.
worry, I let her know. I'm like, hey, just so you know, Dave and Tim say happy birthday, and Huggy, like, just I covered everybody. Yeah. And also the wife and the boys also say happy birthday. So, yeah, you're good. I got you.
Good. So Randy always jokes with me every time I come out there because Lynn will host me for like a week's worth of classes out there at Shadowhawk. That's one of my favorite kind of staples to go to every year. And Lynn will host me there for like a week or so. And fortunately, I get to stay in their guest room at their place there. And Randy always jokes. He's like, "Hey man, one more day, you stay here one more day, I'm filing you on my taxes. So as a dependent." And I'm like, well, that's okay. So,
I mean, the upside to that is the commute is real short.
yeah, absolutely.
You're like, all right, cool, we're here. Like if you're late to class on that day, like something happened.
Exactly.
Like got stuck in the toilet or something,
Yeah, no, they're great folks. And Lynn's been hosting me now for, I think this is year number 4. I think she hosted me in 2018 or 2019. Maybe it's 2019. So 19, 20, 21. So this will be the 4th year in a row that she's hosting me for classes. So
October's a good time too. Not hot, not cold.
Definitely.
So,
I think the first time I taught there was in December, and everybody was like, "Are you insane? It's December." And I was like, man, and honestly, we couldn't have asked for better weather on the one weekend in December that I was teaching classes there. So,
well, I just shot Delmarva last weekend, and while they were setting up one day, they posted pictures. It had snowed.
It snowed, and then it ended up with beautiful weather for the 2 days of the match. So
Sunday it was like 85 degrees.
That's
so
insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nuts. This whole mid-Atlantic area, it can be freezing. It can be snowing one weekend and then 800 degrees the next weekend. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
It's like Satan's armpit.
For
Listen,
sure.
there is something to be said about your dry heat.
Oh, absolutely.
Like 100%. Like people don't get the difference.
I'm originally from Kansas City. So Kansas City having, 70, 80% humidity all the time. So you get 100, 203 degrees with 80% humidity. It is disgusting. And then coming to the Southwest, where it's like, it could be 102 degrees and then you go find a little bit of shade. I can sit outside and enjoy a beer and, and a cigar
all day,
outside, sitting in the shade at 100 degree and not break a sweat. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Although I was in Wichita Falls once, it was 111 degrees and I felt like I was in a blow dryer.
Yep.
That was not comfortable. But that
Wichita Falls, were you there for Double Tap?
No, I was actually there for some military training.
Oh, okay.
So
He might
I
have
was there
gotten a
for a
double
few
tap,
months. So.
but he was younger then.
Hey,
He had more hair and he was a little bit more fit.
antibiotics take care of everything. It's all good. So I ask about the training because you have been. It seems like your training company, whatever you want to call it, has
Mhm.
really kind of exploded in the last couple of years.
It absolutely has.
And you've been posting a good bit of stuff on Instagram, some
Mhm.
videos, YouTube, and stuff like that. So I wanted to get you back on to talk about some specific things that you've posted.
Yeah.
Um, and in particular, I wanted to start with you one recently you put up was strong hand position on the gun.
Uh-huh.
You did a pretty good video on that showing how you're gripping it and or not even. And one of the questions I had was the way you were teaching it was for single stack is what you were using the example on. Does that apply as well to polymer and metal guns?
100%.
Okay.
100%. That tends to be the biggest kind of the biggest thing that I see students struggle with in classes, regardless of like make or model of the pistol, is not getting their strong hand or their dominant hand on like in a good, correct place along the backstrap of the gun in order to kind of to better support or build a kind of a wall of pressure along the entire backstrap, which is what helps mitigate recoil and helps provide uh, like I said, like extra level of support against the gun to keep the gun from
Mm-hmm.
moving around in the hand so much. I think everybody tends to get, especially like from appendix or even from like a side, from a like a 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock holster position, they tend to grasp the gun with their elbow flared, which then rolls their kind of the base of their palm down here near their pinky off of the backstrap of the gun. So then they end up making contact with the pistol just between like the web of their hand and kind of the drumstick portion behind the thumb on the palm of the gun. So they end up with this very shallow grip. And a lot of that is done. I see that a lot of that is more done based on like how they're kind of attacking the gun from the holster with their strong hand, and then also to try to provide more leverage or to change their hand position on the gun to gain leverage on the trigger because the gun itself is just not fit very well for their hand. So I see this predominantly in like double action, single action guns, such as like the CZ Shadow 2s, and especially with smaller handed individuals like myself and a lot of female shooters, where they'll buy those guns because they're all steel 9mm 45 to 48 ounce guns. So they absorb recoil or mitigate recoil very, very well. They're very soft shooting. Yet the shooters will still they still struggle with being able to control the gun, and it's because that long double action trigger, the trigger reach when that gun is in double action from behind like the backstrap to where the trigger reach is so far that they have to roll their hand around the gun in order to put their finger in the right spot on the trigger to gain leverage to press the trigger. So when they do that, they end up compromising their hand position. So then the gun itself, they're trying to mitigate recoil based solely on friction, like squeezing the gun side to side instead of being able to apply backstrap to front strap pressure and then a side to side squeeze in order to hold, in order to control like every side of the pistol, front, back, and left and right. So I see that a lot too with I see it especially a lot with, and I don't mean this just like with women or men, but with male shooters when they're trying to stuff like anything from a Glock 19, Glock 17, Glock 34s. There's the new kind of the new hotness now for like concealed carry. Of course, are these Staccato C, Staccato
Mm-hmm.
XC, any of those guns, and anything that's like big double stack with a big grip. When the gun is very, very close to the body, they'll tend to very shallowly grab the gun from the front, like from an appendix. So they'll lift the gun or they'll lift their shirt and they'll grab the gun from the front, and again only make contact with this portion of the backstrap to their hand on the gun. and then they need to roll their hand to get their hand more in behind the pistol in order to get a little more surface area covered on the gun, which would help mitigate recoil more. So that ends up being one of the biggest detriments to a shooter that I see, and that's one of the biggest corrections in grip that needs to happen. So generally when people will grip the gun, they'll grip the gun and they'll end up with their, I'm try to line up here, they'll end up with their palms almost with a gap between both sides of the gun. And it's because they think they need to squeeze harder with the support hand. And it's really, I need to roll my strong hand in behind the gun more so I can close that gap up and be able to provide front to back pressure this way and side to side pressure this way to squeeze the gun.
Interesting. I'm waiting.
So,
there we go.
There.
I see
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah,
I went and grabbed mine so that we could have somewhat of a visual aid.
Uh-huh.
So this is a full frame 320.
Yep.
And this is for appendix carry. So what you're saying is, because it's like you're saying, it's pressed up against, well, a little bit lower, obviously, but
Right.
when you go in to grab, if you can see, I'm grabbing.
Exactly. Look what portion of your hand.
Find that. There we go. Yeah.
Look what portion of your hand is on the back strap and only on the back strap. And look at how the bottom of the base of the palm isn't anywhere even near the bottom of the bottom of the back strap. So you're lacking a lot of leverage that you could actually be applying to the gun to hold the gun still.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured, I was like, oh, it's right there. We can probably do this and actually see it. All right.
Yeah.
So now other than, especially for the ladies out there who shoot or guys with smaller hands, I mean, other than getting a gun that fits their hand better, what do you have them do for repetitions to break that habit?
Well, a lot of it is, again, getting the elbow, right? So when you, and I'm going to stand up here just to kind of show.
Yeah,
I mean.
Go for it.
So getting the elbow, so like me being left-handed, it's going to look a little weird probably on camera, but as they go to grip the gun, and we're going to consider just competition, like from competition shooting. So if they come to grab the gun from outside the waistband, look at where my elbow and how it's flared out. So it's literally pulling the base of my palm of my hand off of the gun. So they end up coming on top of the gun, but when they grab the gun and then they build their pressure on the gun, they end up again
with that gap,
with a gap in between both palms. So they would typically think like, oh man, I'm having a hard time being able to fight recoil or be able to mitigate recoil. So what do? They end up then grabbing a little bit higher and they wrap their support hand a little bit farther forward. They cant the wrist, which also breaks away grip pressure or peels grip pressure off of the gun. And they end up then trying to get, I always call it like wrestling the hog, right? So the gun is really like jumping around. So what do they try to do? They try to wrestle even harder on the gun to try to get to alleviate as much stress on the pistol as they possibly can, but they're doing it with the wrong hand. And it's simply, if you would just take your strong hand and rotate your strong hand back around a little bit more along the back strap of the gun, you would have more control with utilizing less grip force in order to mitigate what the gun is doing in the hands.
I feel like too, that would cause a lot of anticipation for shots.
Absolutely. You know, when the gun's jumping around extra in the hands, what happens? You know, now you feel like I've got to
fight it.
I've got to fight it and like, right, and squeeze it more or harder. And then the other thing too is because that pressure is not being provided against the backstrap of the gun with the entire hand, it ends up being just along the palm as the hand is kind of canted this way. So now any extra pressure that I'm applying to the gun is steering the gun. So as a right-handed shooter, you get a significant low left or a due left as they press the trigger. So, and if they would just simply rotate their hand a little bit further along the backstrap of the gun would be a lot more solidified in the hand and wouldn't be open for any sort of a manipulation to steer the gun left or right when they start to press the trigger. So I wish I had a pistol here in my hand to show you. So yeah. So utilizing, so like if this, let's just use a magazine here. Okay. So if I grab a little shallow on the gun, right, and I end up grabbing grabbing the gun with just the base of my palm against that backstrap of the gun. And we're going to say that the mag base pad is kind of the base pad of the pistol. And if I get, or is the backstrap of the gun, if I grab the gun from the holster and I align the gun out, what you'll notice is, so as I've got the gun, let's consider this the bore of the pistol, the entire frame and bore of the pistol, look where it's in alignment, but it's misaligned with the bones in the arm, right? So now I've got two axes that the gun is actually moving on. I've got the axis of the wrist, and then of course I've got the axis of the elbow itself. So they're not in alignment with each other. So what happens is, as I start to fire the gun, I'm having a really hard time trying to mitigate recoil because everything is being fought just off of the tendons on the wrist, right? And then we start doing really wonky things like building our support hand on the other side and trying to cam the thumb down or lock the wrist out farther even more in an effort to try to mitigate whatever kind of movement we're getting there. So now you've built actually kind of a biomechanical, you're trying to build biomechanical leverage. And unfortunately, you don't have any leverage on the pistol at all, because leverage is actually based on force that can be applied to the pistol to keep the pistol from moving. If they would just simply take their hand, right? So as the muzzle is lined up perfectly, if they would just take their hand and rotate their hand in behind the gun so that when they grip the gun, if you would notice now the bore of the pistol goes all the way through the bones in the wrist, from the bones in the wrist to the bones of the forearm and into the elbow. So now as they build the pressure on the gun, I no longer have to cam, like even my support hand is not cammed out or trying to lock my support hand. I can actually build my support hand back against more of a neutral wrist angle, which will allow me to clamp more clamping force on the gun where it's appropriate to be able to keep the gun from moving around more. But it starts with getting my strong hand in behind the gun more so that the gun itself is lined up all the way from the frame or bore of the pistol is lined up all the way through the bones in the arm.
That's very similar to rifle shooting, where the more you're directly behind the rifle, the more of your body will absorb the recoil. So there's very little movement in the barrel, but the more you're canted off to the side, the more it's just your shoulder, the more it jumps to the side.
Exactly. Right. So think about even just laying, like, right, shooting rifle prone, and then think about shooting even like a carbine, like performance carbine, like if you're trying to just put the rifle like kind of basically just at the tip of the rotator cuff, like on the anterior deltoid, right? Or you try to find the pocket right in here to be able to rest the rifle, you actually get better results if you are able to move the rifle in towards kind of the top of the pectoral muscle in order to get more of your body in behind the rifle. Right. Yeah. The exact same thing is being said for, if this is the backstrap of the gun, being able to get your entire hand along the backstrap instead of camming the hand off like this. I want to get my hand and elbow in behind the gun so that I've got more control on the pistol, more control with less effort.
Yeah. And that also now makes, later on I had something about strong hand, weak hand, because I was going to talk about grip pressure next. Mm-hmm. But that also explains a lot too, where bringing the elbow in and shooting strong hand or weak hand only, because again, you've got everything directly behind the gun.
Precisely. So that whole trying to lock the gun out or not kind of getting your body in behind the gun just a little bit more to build that support. If you got the gun out here and you're trying to just rely on muscle, the problem is then as soon as you start to lock everything out, now all of that recoil, especially if you're not gripping the gun well, that recoil is going through the wrist itself. Then it's actually being transferred to the elbow, which is out here. So that's going to make the gun lift off and to the right, or if you're a right-handed shooter, off and to the left. And it's also then camming everything off of the shoulder. So you've got 3 points of different varying axes that the gun can move around on. If I lock out the elbow, then everything is transferred through the shoulder. But not only is it transferred to the shoulder, which can go any and all directions, whereas the elbow can only go one direction. Right? Depending on where I put my elbow underneath the gun, I'm changing that axis, how the gun lifts and returns in recoil based on how I cam the elbow out or in. So I can either change change the behavior of the pistol to lift off and to the right or up and straight down.
Yep. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And
So the
not
lesson
being
here:
behind
study
it.
anatomy. You'll be a better shooter.
100%.
There you go.
That's just science, guys.
I mean, if you're shooting like carry optics and you're not behind the gun, like I have been at times in the past before I started bringing that elbow in, I would literally lose my dot. So my second shot, I'd be like, where the hell's my dot? I got to find my dot
That's exactly
before
right.
I can then align it and make the next shot.
And then the problem is you lose the dot once, right? You'll spend the time to try to be visually patient to find the dot for a second or third shot. But after about the third or fourth shot, and the dot doesn't show back up in the glass because your grip and your structure on the gun are very compromised, then you get impatient. And when you get impatient, you feel like, I don't have time to find the dot. Let me go ahead and just start working the trigger and see if I can't figure this out mid-spring. And that's what
Right.
causes a lot of errant shots, is because of an impatience, a visual impatience, because you've not built a good structure on the pistol to begin with.
That's how you end up using a lot of white pasters.
Yep. The other part of
That's
that too, about being
never
able
good.
to get the strong hand, better into the backstrap of the gun, is if I'm solidifying the way my strong hand starts to grab the gun or grip the gun, and I can build a more consistent grip on the pistol with my strong hand by getting my hand in behind the pistol. Now, when I start to build my support hand on there, the dot will fall into the window every single time too. So it's not just about being able to mitigate recoil or be able to have more control on the gun. It allows the gun to point more consistently to the eye or superimpose the dot consistently between the eye and the target, making the dot a hell of a lot easier to find or to not lose every single time that you present the gun or press the trigger.
So it's just all about building that consistency in the grip and then your presentation and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I like it.
All right, so now getting to that grip pressure, I've heard several different things. I've heard where some people are like it needs to be equal on both sides. I've heard where it needs to be mostly on the left, just a little bit on the right, so you don't induce trigger freeze. Now, what is your philosophy or your thoughts on that?
So yeah, my philosophy on it is pretty much the same there. Like I want to grip the gun firm, but not hard with my strong hand, right? With my firing hand, because the firing hand has to do two different actions, right? It needs to be able to grip the gun firmly in order to lift the gun, like to place the hand firm, in the correct location on the gun, be able to firmly grasp the gun enough to be able to lift the gun from the holster, keep total control on it, and then be able to place it, or place your support hand on it without any extra movement or change. But the strong hand also has another, it has to multitask. Its other task is it has to be able to isolate that finger away from the rest of the hand so that I can then press the trigger as fast or as controlled or as careful or as aggressive as I need to make each shot. If I overgrip the gun, because we can only do up to 100% of one task, or we can blend up to 100% of, say, two tasks together. If I'm applying 100% of my grip force with my strong hand, I've got 0% left over for that finger or the dexterity of that finger to be able to press the trigger without an influence from the rest of the hand. So I can't grip the gun with 100% force. So at the same time, I can't also just apply just 100% of just trigger press and trigger press only or isolation in that finger, or I lose control of the gun with the entire strong hand, especially on the backstrap, right? So it's got to be, it's kind of a mix. So I tell people a lot, especially in classes, that with your strong hand, I use this analogy. Everybody here, and I'm just like, for the three of us, right? Dave, I see you've got pictures hanging on the back of the wall there. Do you hang those pictures up on that wall yourself?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. When you were either installing nails or brads into your drywall to be able to hang each of those pictures up, what kind of hammer did you use? Did you use a 10-pound sledgehammer to do that work?
Negative. A much
Right?
lighter weight hammer. Yeah.
The wife would have been really irritated at you had you used a 10-pound sledgehammer and right to try to drive a small nail into the wall to be able to hang up those photos. So you probably used the tool that was appropriate for what you were asking it to do, right? So in this case, probably a 12 to 13 ounce like tack hammer. When you were using that 12 to 13 ounce tack hammer, are you gripping the living crap out of the gun, or out of that hammer as hard as you possibly can? Or are you grasping it fairly firmly, but allowing the hammer to do the brunt of the work? So
Number 2.
right. So I'm comparing, I try to relate the amount of pressure that I'm utilizing on the gun in order to, again, to multitask and have dexterity in my trigger finger to press the trigger. I want to grasp the gun with a similar amount of pressure that I would typically grasp about a 12 to 13 ounce tack hammer, right? Firm, but I'm not crushing it, right? With my support hand, we've all broken. I'm hoping everybody here has probably done some sort of a demolition before, or broken up concrete, or something where they've had to use a 10-pound sledgehammer for that, right? You probably didn't use that same 12 to 13 ounce tack hammer to break up concrete. You probably went into the garage, or you rented or borrowed a 10-pound sledgehammer to do that with. When you're swinging that 10-pound sledgehammer, are you gripping it with the same kind of force that you would that 12 to 13 ounce tack hammer? Or you're probably gripping the living crap out of that thing so that you've got ample control over it. So I compare the level of grip pressure that you need to apply to the gun with your support hand. So if you're a right-handed shooter, we're talking about your left hand. If you're a left-handed shooter, we're talking about your right hand. That level of support hand pressure, I want to grip the gun as hard as I possibly can, just like I would grip a 10-pound sledgehammer if I were swinging it for all my might, with my hands as well. So I think of tack hammer and I think of sledgehammer, right? So if I'm gripping the gun hard enough with my support hand, and some people would say, you want to grip it hard enough that the gun starts to shake and then back it off. I am not an advocate of backing off. I'm not going to back my pressure off. I'm going to squeeze the gun as hard as I can with my support hand. And when I start to see the sights shake, okay, that means I'm applying every ounce of energy I possibly have, or force, into that pistol to hold that gun, or to vice that gun as still as possible.
Okay.
So firm with my strong hand and hard as I possibly can with my support hand.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I can see that. Now, how do you are you using, when you're shooting strong hand only, so for you with your left hand, are you adding now more pressure because that's
negative?
The only
Nope. So I'm still gripping the gun right the same way. So firm. So again, that's where it's imperative to have that hand turned into the backstrap of the gun, so that when I'm squeezing the pistol with these 3 fingers on the front strap into the backstrap, I'm simply pulling the gun into my palm, right? Which just kind of locks everything in place. But I'm not going to grip the gun even harder, because if I do, what happens to the dexterity I've got in that finger? Now I start to press the trigger with my entire hand. And that's when I'll start to tug shots low and right, being a left-handed shooter. This is where I see right-handed shooters. They start pressing the trigger with the entire hand, and they milk the gun either straight to the left or hard low and left every time they press the trigger. So the only difference I make, strong hand only shooting, I don't make any changes at all. Like, it's the same grip, the same level of pressure is applied to the gun, and that way I still got the same level of dexterity with my trigger finger to the pistol to be able to adequately press the trigger and not disturb the gun. When I transfer that gun to my support hand, now I have to tell myself consciously, I need to back the pressure off the support hand, because I'm asking the support hand to do 2 different functions. It has to grip the gun firmly, but not too hard, so that I can get some sort of dexterity in that trigger finger to be able to press the trigger and not disturb the gun.
Okay. Makes perfect sense. And I noticed while you were talking too, you keep saying you're pulling the gun back into the palm of your hand,
right,
or the heel of your hand. So you're not squeezing with sideward pressure with your fingers. You're using your fingers to pull straight back, so you have front rear pressure.
Exactly. Support, or the strong hand, is responsible for applying backstrap pressure and front strap pressure. So as I'm squeezing the gun, you'll notice there's a gap between, like, my fingers. I'm not worried about squeezing my fingers and clamping this direction into the gun, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to apply rearward pressure and forward pressure. I'm squeezing this direction into the gun, right? So it's front, it's like fore and aft pressure. With my support hand, when my support hand comes down and crushes, now the pressure it's applying to the pistol is side to side pressure. So the support hand is what is controlling horizontal pressure on the gun. The strong hand is what is applying kind of lateral pressure or front to back pressure on the pistol.
Okay. Pretty cool.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.